Hello, this is David from Dander. I hope you've been surviving the lockdown. I've been producing a few videos to keep you entertained during that time. If you haven't had a chance to look at them, they've been shared on YouTube, Instagram TV at Derry Danders 2, and also Facebook and Business LinkedIn. These tours have been there to whet your appetite for whenever hopefully you can come and visit the city again. My previous videos had been of photos with a bit of music because I didn't feel it was appropriate during lockdown to go out and shoot live videos. So we don't know what the tour market's going to look like in the future, whether you'll be touring with us wearing masks, and obviously social distancing will be there, and even the guides themselves might have to wear masks. We don't know what's ahead of us. But in the meantime, stay safe and see you soon. In the next few days, I will be sharing some live action videos taken within 2 miles of my home under the hashtag TourGuideLockdown. So now I've walked approximately 300 yards from my home and in the area known as Caw Drive, or for many people still known as Nelson Drive. And we're looking at a mural of the Peace Bridge that was erected in 2011 in the city that coincided well with the Year of Culture in 2013. In the past, areas like this would have had very much political murals, but in the last few years there's been changes, and now they remember social and entertainment type events as well. The area known as Caw comes from the Irish word for battle, because there would have been a battle in this area between the local Gaelic lords and the Vikings in medieval days. So we're going to continue our walk around Caw Drive, or Nelson Drive, and we can see some decorations left over from the BE anniversary earlier this month. Unfortunately, much lower key than expected. And this is a mural to Private William McFadden, who is one of the 23 recipients of the Victoria Cross who came for Ulster. And he was born in Lurgan, and he died actually before the Battle of the Somme because he threw himself on a box of grenades that had fallen into the trench. Some of the pins had fallen off, and to protect his colleagues he had saved them by throwing his body over the box of grenades. I have been unable to find if there was any connection with this area. And this is a mural to the Ulster Volunteer Force, not just the modern organisation, but that which was involved in the campaign for Ulster's Solemn Leave and Covenant. And we'll just finish off in the Garden of Reflection, an oasis of calm. And now we've arrived at the modern campus of Foyle College. School was originally founded in 1617, located near St Augustine's Church in the city centre. And we're just going to have a wee quick look into the grounds, and we'll see 2 dramatic things. The statue of Sir John Lawrence, a former Viceroy of India and pupil of the school. And this statue has been in India, London, before arriving here. And also behind that, we'll look at the gate posts that came from the Duncragan campus of the school, and were originally the gate posts on the Tilley mansion. And later on we'll maybe talk a bit more about William Tilley and Henderson. And there you can see the sign. If you're interested in history of the school, this book, A View of the Foyle Commanding, is worth a read. Alternatively, a history is available on YouTube, produced by Jim Goodman. So we've now arrived at Waterside Greenway in St Colum's Park, and we're going to look at some sculptures of some local heroes, metallic sculptures. Here am I pointing out, stand beside Amelia Earhart, and there are 3 very socially distant sculptures. This is Francis Lethbridge, and he was a part-time poet, and he would have stayed in Edmonton Barracks. And this is Dr. McGinley, and he was one of the pioneers that established the Foyle Hospice. And this lady was Amelia Earhart, who 88 years ago, almost to the day, landed in Ballyarnett. So again, just look at the way the socially distanced sculptures have been placed in the park. And Amelia Earhart was a very famous aviator that crossed the Atlantic and landed here. And just some arty photographs through the sculptures and of the Foyle Bridge. So we've now arrived at the Foyle Arena, and outside is a sculpture known as the Judo Players, produced by a Northern Ireland sculptor called F.E. Williams. During the lockdown, it hasn't been too different from what my family has looked like when we fall out over one of the quiz questions during that time. So now we're going to walk further down the park, and this is a sculpture of St. Columb, or St. Columba, or St. Columkill, who founded the first monastery in the city in 542 AD, and known as the Dove of the Church, a very important character in Derry's history. And we can just see, as we walk a wee bit further, St. Brecken's Church. And I'm always saddened to see this. This was actually the ruins of what might have been a 14th century, or even before that, place of worship in the city. And unfortunately, it's had to be sealed off to protect it for health and safety and to prevent antisocial behaviour. But I just wish it could be opened a bit more for use by the public. As you can see, we're now standing looking over the river from Edmonton Square, and the gun is an obvious sign that Edmonton Barracks was a naval and military base for so many years. This Peace Bridge itself opened in 2011, and I always say in my tours, one of the best things that ever happened to the city in my time here. And the shape can signify a handshake, or the fact that peace itself was not straightforward and took many tosses and turns on the way. But it's certainly an iconic image of the city for visitors. And now we're going to turn and look at some benches just at the side of the Peace Bridge that most people walk past. And this is St. Columba and St. Brecken's Church at Edmonton Barracks. And this is First Derry and St. Augustine's. And this is Bishopsgate and Long Tower Church. And finally, Carlisle Road Methodist, not the Guildhall. We're now back in Edmonton Square, and we'll just pan around and have a look. That building you see behind you will hopefully be a hotel in a few years' time. And the main square itself has hosted concerts and Radio 1 roadshows. But it was always an army and naval base, originally being in the shape of a star fort, and it contains a couple of restaurants. Now we're going to look at the statue of the International Sailor that was put up another number of years ago to remember those sailors who had been killed during the Battle of the Atlantic in World War II, when Derry was an important port. And now we've reached the Peace Tree, one of the more recent sculptures in the city by the local sculptor Maurice Harron. Each of the petals would have a verse or a thought written by a school child, and at night the tree is lit up in lots of different colours. So now we're back in St. Colum's Park. I'm going to have a dander through the grounds of St. Colum's Park House. And if you looked over to the right there, there's a more formal garden that replaced that done by Charlie Dimmock in 2000. And the original house was known as Chatham Lodge. It was built in 1788. There's a look at the refurbished garden. And it was built by Lieutenant John Ray, passed to his daughter, who married Hild the Hill family, and that's the Hill coat of arms. In 1840, the famous novelist William Thackeray visited there, and it has been used as both a family home and also as a nurse's home in the 1940s for St Colum's Hospital. So you can have a stop there and have a coffee and an ice cream in the cafe in the park. And this is a fairly recent addition, remembering organ donors. And we can make our way out through this exit into St Colum's Park, which was taken over by the corporation in 1939, purchasing from the family that owned the house. Now, as you hear the Guildhall chiming in the background, we're now looking at an area of St Colum's Park known as the Stadium, an area for both private exercise, and over here we have some group exercise now that the lockdown has been relaxed. But I remember this during the 2012 Olympic Torch Rally. So we're walking down the Greenway. If we look up to our right, that'll take us to the Foyle Bridge, going past the Amelia Earhart statues. And if we go this way, this will take us to the Peace Bridge. If you look in front of you, you see an installation artwork known as Mute Meadow. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds' time. And that is Mute Meadow there, built at a cost of about $800,000 on June 2011, and unfortunately never really finished, or maybe became what it should have been. And just a last lingering look again at the Peace Bridge. So we're going to leave the Peace Bridge behind us and walk down along the new section of the Greenway that goes to the railway station. And here we approach the platform. And a lot of people don't know that at one stage the city had 4 railway companies and 4 railway stations all converging on it. And this is the one known as the Belfast and Northern County Railway that led from the city through Coleraine up to Belfast. And there you can see just the initials for that railway line on the clock tower. But now it's part of the recently refurbished Northwest Transport Hub. Now you still see that there's a lot of building work still going on. And this was the railway line that Michael Portillo described as one of the most beautiful railway journeys in the world. And we'll walk our way around some of the pictures done by school children, and you'll now see the Craigavon Bridge in the distance.